Hi everybody, welcome to So Steady Facebook Live on Sundays. This is Kate Quinn of Fabricated Quilts, and I'm very happy to be back. I've been gone for a few weeks and super excited to share a new design with you and just some general ideas about how we can quilt with templates and things we need to watch out for. How do we set things up? What are the basic tools? So we're going to just go through some of that basic stuff. I know that might be repetitive for some of our viewers, but having the, new people always coming into our program means that we really want to make sure that we can catch them up and help them to be successful right from the get-go. So if you can hear me and the picture looks clear, if you could just let me know, that way we'll go ahead and get started. I'll just adjust some of these lighting and picture. We'll try to get in just a little bit closer so we can have a little better view. All right. Well, wow, thank you guys. So glad to have you here. So I know we have people from all over the world. Today is almost a celebration of Independence Day in the United States. So for those of you celebrating that and those of you longing for your own independence and freedom and opportunity to celebrate that, I send out good thoughts and blessings to everybody all over the world. Today we want to talk about the Reseller Exclusive program, and a few different items are included that, including our 4-piece suspension system, the Reseller Fun and Fancy class kit, and the Reseller Exclusive Flower Power set. And today we're going to talk about the Reseller Exclusive Rulerwork Kit, which includes this bloom template. So in order to make sure that we have information access to customers all over, we want to make sure that we maintain our relationships with our quilt shops. Our local quilters, I'm the first person who, when I need something, I'm going to go to my local shop because they're close, because I have a relationship with them, because they have answers. And so it's really important that as a manufacturer that So Steady is connected to our retailers so that those people out there can have knowledge, they can have education, they have opportunities to host content for people, and they can connect their student to us by saying, hey, we have this situation, we have that situation, we need to solve it. And that way we can get information then that can go out to all of those resellers and solve all those problems. So this product, when it says reseller exclusive, that means you can only get it from a local authorized reseller. It's not something that So Steady is selling online. The unique thing that we're going to do today is we're going to do a design with this bloom template as our centerpiece. And this is a Spinifex style template, okay? So this is a 5.5-inch size if it's sewn out 2 units end to end. So if I sew just this part, it's half of that. So it will be 2 3/4 just for this part. And if I sewed it once this way and then I flipped it around from the same start point and I sewed another unit, that's the 5.5. Jamie, there's lots of online resellers who still have access to the reseller exclusives, including myself. So, it's not that you have to go to your local quilt shop. You can create a relationship with a local authorized reseller online, and that way you have access to information and knowledge and support for the product. And So Steady, of course, supports their own product, but it's nice to have somebody that you can just call up and say, hey, this is what's happening. I need some answers. So we do try to advocate for all of our clients, when they have a problem. We want to give them the right answer. And sometimes we don't know the answer, so we have to go find it. So let's go ahead and start with this design. As I said, this is a Spinifex. If you've never sewn with templates before, a Spinifex is designed to rotate around the foot. So pretend that this is the foot. If I put the foot here, this template can spin around it and still be held in place when the needle is down, right? And then I could also use it on this side. With any template, I can use any part of the template I want. I could use this only. I don't have to use the bottom. I could use this as a hook. I could use this as a straight edge. I could use this topper right here just as a little triangle nib. You know, realize that the shape can be used in hundreds of different ways, just depending on how you hold it, how you position it, and how you start and stop. But for today, we'll actually sew the whole shape. My block is 14.5-inch cut, and the markings on it, I believe, are 13 inches, right? So I've already marked the center right here, and I'm going to use the crosshair square, which is included in the Rulerwork Kit, and I'm going to mark 8 reference lines. So people ask me all the time, do I really need a crosshair square? I do. You can make your own decision. I want to have all of my lines, hang on just a second, let me get this little thread out of there. All my lines marked at the same time. So I've got some little straight reference lines there at 90 degrees that are going to help me line up my little dot right in the center. And you can see pretty much I've got the same amount of space on each side. And so now I can mark this and put those lines in. And my, darn it, my choco liner's on the other side. Hang on just a sec. So I'm using heat erasable chalk from Hansi in order to put into my choco liner. And I'm just going to hold this and I'm going to mark these lines. So a little tricky here. I'm just going to scoot this so I can get this line easily marked. I do want them a little bit long because we are going to be making some designs that go kind of far out. We may even have to extend the lines. If I use the smaller crosshair square, it's only going to make shorter lines. I can always lengthen them, but if you know that your designs are going to be larger than the 8.5-inch crosshair, I recommend getting the bigger one. That way you won't have to remark as much. Okay, so we'll just mark the center and then we'll take that off. I need a center dot. So I like to use something a little thinner to get down into the center right there and just mark that center dot. So I'm just going to use this kind of ceramic. There's a couple different brands of this, but it has a very fine tip, and I can just get that right down in there and mark that center. Okay, so let me take this off. Okay, so notice how clean those lines are. They're really, really beautiful. It's easy to follow. If I was trying to just use a ruler, I'm not sure if these would all be proportional, which means then that the design may not be proportional, right? So this tool is helping me to do it more efficiently and do it all in one go. When I put my ruler foot onto my machine and I lower my presser foot to the lowest position, which I'll do right now, okay, notice that I can move freely. The ruler foot is kissing my fabric. There's no gap under there. The only thing that should fit under there really is your thread, right? As long as I can move this freely without any resistance from the foot, that is the proper height. If I have the foot up higher, the foot is going to be a gap between the fabric, like if this is the fabric, and the needle will pick up the fabric, and then the foot will knock it off each time. And what that does is that causes thread challenges, thread problems. It doesn't sew well because that slack is being introduced into your thread path. So make sure that you have it set at the proper height. And when I start, I'm going to put my template on first, and then I'll put my needle down right in the position that I want to start. Okay, so I'll just do that now and get these extra threads out of there. I'm just going to put them behind there so they'll be out of my way. I can sew like this, or I could flip my design over and I could sew it like this. It's going to provide two different designs, and that is the nature of a Spinifex. I want to sew it this way just because I am electing to do that. As we sew, I want you to pay particular attention to right here. These little flanges are what I call an outside curve. When I sew around this outside curve, if I go too fast and I don't hug the curve, it's easy for the foot to wing out away from the template. So there's no rush, there's no race, okay? Just go slowly and keep the edge of the foot right along the template. And then you can just sew regular. Okay? When you're at the top, go ahead and put just an extra stitch. I like to do what I call a little breath of hesitation. We'll do it one more time because we're going to actually put one of these on each line that we made. So there's 8 lines. I don't have to rotate my quilt sandwich when I do this. I can just start sewing just from here, and I'll do these front ones like this without rotating so you can see that. And then when we get to the rear, I will rotate the sandwich so you can continue to see what I'm doing. With this unique template, note that there is a little line right there. If I tip this a little bit, there is my line right there, right? When I line up this reference line and this reference line right on this existing design and on this crosshair line, now I am perfectly positioned to have my design centered on this line. So I have 2 points of reference, and the foot is holding my needle right at the same spot where I started with the previous designs. Okay, so slowly around the outside curve, and then to the top, and right here is that slight hesitation right there. Then I'm actively going to change directions. I literally want you to think, change, change, change directions. Because if I don't actually consciously think about changing directions, I don't even know if I can actually demo this, but I'll kind of talk about it when I get to here. Right here, I am moving in that direction. When I get to this, I want to take a stitch to anchor the bobbin thread, and then I'm actively going to move in the direction that I want to go now. A very conscious choice to push my fabric in another direction. And that is going to give you a beautiful, clean, sharp point right here at the tip. Okay, so again, as I said, I'm sort of looking back there. I would be lining up this and the reference line right there. Since you guys cannot see that, I'm going to go ahead and just tip it a little bit so that we can do that. So the whole time when you're a new user, you want to be thinking about touch, touch, touch. Keep that foot touching the edge of this template. There's no need for racing. Ruler quilting is not, I want to get this done to the fastest possible degree. Ruler work is more about precision sewing. If I wanted to just do a crappy job and go really fast, I can do that without a template. The template is about making the design very sharp and clean, and there's no necessity to go fast. It doesn't make the design any better if I go fast. So I can just go along. What you want is a nice, even sound to your machine. The way that I like to think about that or express that to people is when you're sewing, try to make your machine sound like it would if you were piecing, so that as you're moving, you've got that nice, even, same rhythm each time. So it's not like going fast and then going slowly and then going fast and then going slowly. Just try to keep it nice and even. As you're sewing, if you're having trouble with that, you can go ahead and lower the speed of your machine to about medium speed, and then you're going to press your gas all the way down, and that will allow you to eliminate speed variability. When you press the gas all the way down, it's just going to go the same speed because you're not halfway there, almost all the way there, a little bit of pressure. You're just going to press the gas all the way down, and then everything will be controlled. So we've done almost all of these, so you can kind of see what we're getting, right? We're getting these cute little points right here. Let's do this last one, and then we're going to move on to some of the other tools that are in the Rulerwork Kit, the Reseller Exclusive. This template is the Bloom template. If you came in late, this is the unique tool that's been added to the new Ruler Kit. This is the Ruler Kit version 2, and this is the free additional template that comes with this new Rulerwork Kit. So a little bit different than what we've seen previously. All of the sampler set rulers are still in the set, but we have the unique addition of this fun tool that we can play with. So we get just one more versatile spin effects that we can play with at the 5.5 inch size. Okay, I'm just needle down and up, and it's going to pull up that bobbin thread, and now I can trim those threads. Somebody just asked about my pens, my chalk pens. The Boheen marker that I use to mark the center, I could literally just go like this and rub it out and it'll be gone. But there's also a lot of thread right there, so you won't even be able to see it. I don't really even worry about trying to take that off. These lines that we made with the Choco liner, these are Hansi Iron Off Chalk Powder. Okay, let's see if I can find that real quick. This product, Hansi Iron Off Chalk Powder. I filled my Choco liner with this powder. Then I can iron it off with just a little steam and a swipe of the iron. It'll come right off. I like that because it's fast and it's easy. Okay, so this was the first template. Somebody asked about my thread. My thread is Isacord. It's a 40 weight. The color is, I'm not sure. I can't read it from here, sorry. But it's Isacord, 40 weight. So I really like that poly, and I've got a variegated Fantastico on the back. Let me pull the design up so you can see it. You get this really kind of fun shape, and this is where I was trying to show you the variability and speed, right? Where I was going fast and slow. This is what happens. If you can keep your speed nice and smooth, you're going to get a prettier look. Bonnie, I'm going to answer your question. The answer is yes. Any authorized retailer can also purchase these bloom templates just as a single entity and sell it for you just like this, right? And you can just order whichever one that you want. Okay? So hopefully that answered that. I see some traffic on that, but what is the question? I can't see it. I missed the information about what package the bloom. It's sold by itself. Okay, let me review that. There's some concerns, I guess. This is sold just like this, just by itself, bloom template alone, single. Okay, so you can purchase it like this, and this is listed as $21 for the MSRP, and you of course can get any shank style that you want to. Or you can purchase it as part of the Rulerwork Kit. Mine is a little older. It doesn't look like this anymore. It says Reseller Exclusive Package. And it has, instead of this Janet Collins pattern right here, you get the bloom template. So they've configured it a little bit differently, but you can purchase it with the bloom template now. And what is cool is they haven't changed the price. So you get a really awesome value with no additional charge if you purchase that set. Of course, you can always purchase this to add to your set if you want to. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about some of the other tools that are in here right now. So I like this shape right here, and I have a very easy way that I can echo that by using some of the tools. And let's go ahead and just talk about some choices that I can have. If I line this up on this is about 1/4 of an inch away, and so is this right here. So this is what you would get if I tried to use this template to sew this arc. And I can do it. It'll fit, but it's very, very close to this line right here. So in order to get some puff in here and some value, I want to draw my arc a little further out of this space. Plus, I kind of want to sew this way as if the template were like this. I find that this will be harder. I don't have anything to line up on this side. One of the unique features about the Rulerwork set is it has multiple sizes of circles. And let me see, I have one more I need to grab. The tool that I'm going to use to do the little arcs that we just mentioned is the 4-inch arc from the Rulerwork set. Okay? Because I can use the inner curve or the outer curve, whichever one I prefer. So the next part of this design is to show you I can play with different shapes and I can fit different options in here. Let me show you one more decision that I made when I was working with this. The other size circle that we have is this 2-inch right here. Okay, if I try to put the 2-inch circle on there, with 1/4 inch on each side, which I need so that the ruler foot can fit, look at how far down it's going to go, right? If this is the 1/4 inch right here and right there, this would sew way far down into this design. Now I can do that. There's nothing that says I can't. I just don't want to. So this 2 inch is not a good size. By using that 4, I get to push the arc much further away and create a little space in there that will help me make my design pretty. Okay, so here we go. Oh, somehow I just got unthreaded. Oh no, it's just dangling. Okay, let's cut that and we'll keep sewing. Okay. All right, so we tried a couple different things. We tried these two, and for the reasons I explained, they don't fit. And for the reason that I did explain, I want to use this side, and I'm going to use this center line. I'm going to line up the center line right at the intersection right here of this part of the design right here, where these two cross over. This is essentially the middle. Like if we drew a line straight through, this would be the intersection right in between these two crosshair lines. Now I could make more lines, but I'm just going to use the design to help me. Now, what do we want to align? How far up do we want to go? How about let's go ahead and we'll put the very first line, the white line on here, on the tip of each of those little flowers that we made. That's going to give us a little bit of space away from the design. It's a 1/4 inch on the ruler, and the foot will add another 1/4 inch. So the spacing will actually be a 1/2 inch away from the existing design. So I'm going to start with my foot on the crosshair line and pick up my needle right on that crosshair line. I like to go ahead and get my bobbin thread up always from the bottom. I don't want any threads hanging out on the bottom. So let me get this lined up right on the center, and I'm lining this reference line, the first white arc, on the tip of that green design. Notice that I've got some fingers off and some fingers on the template to hold it in place. Again, nice and easy with my speed right to the crosshair line. Make sure the needle stops before you make any adjustment to your position. Now, I have the same reference line right there and the center point, and I'm going to try to line that up and also line it up on this first tick mark where the tip of the little green thing is right on the first white arc. Okay, so that's giving us a little bit of space away from the design to make it look awesome. Okay, and then we'll just keep going around. Again, you don't have to rotate your quilt sandwich, okay? That is just something I'm doing in order to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see what we're doing. Notice that I tend to control my template with my left hand. I'm a right-handed user, so here I'll try to do it without rotating this time so we can just get it lined up nicely. And I'll scoot it down just a little bit to get it aligned properly. So, still controlling the ruler with my left hand and the sandwich with my right hand. And that's where I am most comfortable. So if you're a left-handed user, you may want to put your ruler on this side and control your sandwich with this opposite hand. That's going to give you just a little bit more flexibility, I think, than if you, many left-handed people are capable of using either hand. I know they've been forced into that, but if that's something that you want to try, that just gives you another option to maybe control the design more how you want it. Fingers on the template and off is going to help you make sure that you can feel what is happening with the fabric. The curve. So Marcia, I'm going to answer your question. She just asked, is this the same as this? At least that's what I understood from her question. Yes, they look different, don't they? This looks flatter and this looks more curvy, deeper. The difference is that this is with the foot going on the inside of the curve versus the foot going on the outside of the curve. So like if this is the clamshell, your stitching is going to be wider than this ruler in order to make this shape. Whereas when I'm using this on the inside, it's going to go ahead and cut on the inside. She asked about alignment. I guess I saw a follow-up question. What I'm doing is I'm aligning the center of the ruler. I'll even just make a visual mark so that you can see what I mean. Explain it. Okay, so if I'm using this line, right, which I said I was, to me, this is the deepest part of the curve, the way that I'm lining this up, right? So technically, it should be the same to there, right, from this center point. So she's saying if you line it up at a different place, is it going to be the same? It's just not going to fit, right? I mean, I need to be able to go from position to position. But technically, yes, I guess it should be. I feel like doing it the way that I just explained, it gives me several different reference points. So now I can make sure that everything is the same. I have a center line, I have the foot on this side as an anchor, and I have one position over here on this little green leaf, on this one little first reference line. That gives me 3 different points of alignment to make sure that this curve and this curve and this curve are the same. No matter how you set it up, if you can give yourself at least 2 reference points, then you have a much better chance of having your design be symmetrical and come out the same. I try to do something that I can use that's really very visible, very easy for me to follow. I could even say right here there are 2 spaces, so this is the white arc, this is the white arc. I could literally just line it up there because every one of these should be the same. That could be just a different optional reference line. I call that random rule theory. That's my random rule theory. If I make up a rule and I follow it for each lobe on a design or each aspect of a design or each quadrant, then that's going to help me make sure that those positions are all the same each time, that I am able to make them the same. And is there some variability in the design? Sure, there may be. Fabric's going to move, I'm going to move. Maybe I screwed up on this part of the design and now I'm having to make up for it. That's okay, that's just normal. Nobody is going to really look that closely, and what's going to happen is once you're all sewn, all these lines are going to go away. So they're just going to see maybe slight variability, but not usually enough for you to say, oh, that is terrible, I'm throwing that out, right? I mean, I don't do that. I'm just going to make it work. Right here, this is our start point. So this is the next newbie tip that I want to give. A lot of times when we're working with rulers, we really need something to help us be more precise. So right now I can't find my pink spacing gauge, my teal one, but I've got this one. Each one of these different fingers is the width measure, right? We're not trying to measure this, right? We're measuring a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch right here, this is 1/8, and this is 1. When I put my needle right into this spot, notice that if you look at this foot, the foot is a 1/2 inch, the needle is in the center. So when I align for this next position right here, I need to make sure that I am a 1/4 inch away from the end so that my needle can get back to that same spot. So I'm going to line this up right against there. Even if this is not perfectly aligned, I want to close. That's more important to me than this line right here. I mean, I could still adjust it, but if I don't have a 1/4 inch with this little spacing gauge, I might not get back to where I started, and that is more obvious. So let's go ahead and we'll close our design right there. Okay, and now I'm right where I left off. Can you guys see that it does look pretty even? You know, we're getting a certain amount of space right here on each of these. The top of the curve is centered right into this little pocket, and they're the same distance right here from each other. This gap is pretty much the same. So using the random rules that we created, we are in charge of those rules. Nobody told me I have to use this or that. I decided and I repeated that rule, and then I got the symmetry that I wanted. So the next thing I'm going to show you real quick, and I'm going to try and sew a little faster. This might address a little bit of what maybe Marsha was talking about. Could I go like this, so no longer using my center line, but still have this 1/4 inch and have the same arc right here? It's possible. For some rulers that's true, and for some rulers it isn't true. And it has to do with whether you're shorter than the curve. This is a 4-inch arc, so as long as my arc is smaller than 4, it probably will be the same no matter where it's touching. But if I'm using this to try to bridge a gap that's bigger than 4, it will not be the same. So what I recommend is, again, using the random rule. I've got a reference line right here to line this right up, and that's going to be the easiest thing for me. I'm going to line it up right on that center position, and then again, I'm going to use my spacing gauge right here to get me right to the tip of that design right there. So when I position this, I need the flat edge right here to go against the ruler flush. I can't be canted on the little corner like that. So let me see if I can get you in there a little closer so you can see what I mean. Let's come down just a little bit so you can see that position right there. Okay, we're going to use this 1/4 inch right there. Okay, if I just say, okay, I'll just put this any old where, notice that the flat edge of this spacing gauge is not flush with the edge of the ruler. You need this edge to be flush. It can't be canted like this, right? So get those two edges together, and that is measuring the distance across this, which is exactly a 1/4 inch. So it's that width that you're looking for. So I'm going to just sew this, and then we'll move the camera back out. So as long as I've positioned it properly, this should bring my needle right to the tip of the existing design. Okay, we did pretty good. We're real close to that. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring us back out a little bit. Now, I can pretty quickly line these up. Can I eyeball this if I wanted to? I could. I don't want to. I want them to be precise. I want them to be accurate. Okay? So I'll go ahead and I'll align that right on that center position, and then using that spacing gauge to give me a really nice, precise measure right there so I can get my tip right to the very top of the existing arc. Okay, and we'll do one more. I am going to go ahead and finish these because the rest of the design is based on having these outer curves put in. So we're going to go ahead and do a few more of these. So right now I'm using just the alignment at a 1/4 inch. Each one of the reference lines that we have on the templates is giving us information. So if I were to line my ruler right up on an existing curve, and I'll show you what I mean. If I line the ruler up on this exact curve right here, I put the edge of the stitching and I lined the ruler up just like that, the foot is going to touch this and the needle is a 1/4 inch away. So if I want a 1/4 inch echo, I can literally use the very edge of the template and line it up like that. Here that doesn't work because we have the same start point for both of this arc and the outside arc. I would have to move up a 1/4 inch in order to echo this on the inside like that. So what we're doing right now is we're actually using this spacing gauge, but when we do the outer echo, I'm going to show you how to use those curvy lines and make different patterns, different thicknesses of echo. So we only have 2 more of these. So we'll try to get those done real quick. Nice and even sound. And we'll get this last one lined up and use our spacing gauge. Spacing gauge is so powerful when we want accuracy, right? When we're trying to be super accurate, we want to use our spacing gauge because it's going to give us that accuracy. It's going to get me right where I want to go. So right here, I'm going to just do a little tacking over that existing stitching. When I'm finished, I'm going to pick my needle up and my foot, pull my sandwich away to lengthen my bobbin, and hold on to this top thread. When I bring the needle down and up, when I've lined it up right where I left off, I'll release the foot, and I'm going to pull both of these threads, and there is that bobbin from the bottom. Now I can cut this off, and also these threads, because they have been stitched over by my micro tacking. Now the design is closed, and all the extra threads are removed, and there's no thread on the back either. All right, so let's flip it over real quick just to give you the visual. Why did I cut it if we're going to sew some more? The next part of the design is not connected to it, right? It's not connected to the existing part of the design that we've just completed. So that's what we've made so far. We have a nice little space here that we've created. We could have gone point to point, but I like the drama of this, and I like that there's a little space right there with a little puff of fabric. I don't want to close this space in too tightly, because then I don't get that luscious pop that I like. Okay, so let's continue. So this is variegated thread on the back, solid thread green on the other side. Okay, now let's put in the one more echo. This is the next technical tip for my newbies. The lines here, if I have no line, if the edge of the template is the alignment, we just mentioned that if I lined it up just like that, that's going to give you a 1/4 inch echo. If I want a little wider echo, then I have to move up. So let's go ahead and we'll just make a 1/4 inch echo. So now we're positioning the template first. I'm going to try to come in just a little bit over the top so we can reduce that glare a little bit. A little bit. Okay. All right. So when we line it up, we're going to use one of these lines right here, not the edge of the ruler, but one. We could use more. We could use two if we want to. The two things I want to communicate is the relationship between these spaces. If it's 2 spaces, it's going to be 3/4 inch. You're always going to add the additional 1/4 inch that the foot has, right? So if we use 2 spaces, that's a 1/2 inch, and the foot will give us another 1/4. Now, in this instance, I'm going to line up the ruler first, and I'm still going to kind of line it up right on the center. I guess we'll use 2 because we can. This is where the foot needs to go. The ruler is being positioned first, and now the foot can fall into line on the crosshair line. So we're not putting the foot down first because we don't know where it's supposed to go. Then we can go ahead and just get this bobbin thread up right there, leave the ruler in place, and I'm going to go ahead and set my needle right in that crosshair line, right there. And then I'll tie this off as we come around the design. So this one I think is actually very easy to echo because I can literally just line it right up, crosshair line to crosshair line, and then when I get to the next one, it's 2 lines. I'm right in the center, and I can sew right to the crosshair line. Because I'm lined up right on the arc below it, I'm getting a really simple, easy, precise alignment. Let's see if you guys can see it. I'll just come in a little bit more. So 2 lines we said. I'm going to line it up right there and try to get this one maybe a little bit on the center position. And here we go. So Marcia, going back to her question again, if I roll this around, I can still align that reference line underneath, but I feel like it moves this point off of the center. We want the tallest part of the curve to sort of stay right in the center, and I've got that visual line right there. So I do want to use that. I feel like that's going to help me because those reference lines are there. They're on there for my use. Okay? So again, second one, and you can see this one's going to go a lot faster. This is my favorite reason right here, what we just showed, to why I like this arc style. I like all of our different arcs because they allow you to sew from either direction. I can echo from this side or I can echo from this side. It depends on what I need. to see which one that I want to use. So let's go ahead and we'll put this on, and we've just got 2 more, and then we'll go ahead and move on to our designs from there. Okay, right there. Crosshair line, and this will be the last one. And I'm going to do something crazy here, so bear with me. Right there, I want to check and make sure that I'm perfectly going to close my design. Before I start sewing, I'm going to align this to make sure that it's going to come right to where I want it to, so that this design is perfectly lined up. Even if it's off a little bit, the closure of the design is more important than that alignment, right? So I'm going to just do a little tacking right here to close that. And I'm actually going to stitch right on the ruler back to my next position. Now, if that bothers you to have a little bit more thread here than somewhere else, then I would just finish it and move to the next position. But if you just want to sew continuously and you don't want to restart, you can always use the ruler to track back to your next position. This is the 4-inch arc. This is part of the Rulerwork Kit, and this is also in that Rulerwork Exclusive Rulerwork Kit, which has the bloom template. So again, this arc and this arc are the same. I do like to use my alignment marks. I do think it makes the design smoother. Okay, next tool is going to be this cool spin effects. We're going to line this up, and we're going to use this on the outer part of the block and this where we are now. This key allows us to put this template on without having to cut our thread. So that was the next newbie tip for today, or everybody tip for today. I'm going to put this on, put my key back in there. When I put my tape on, make sure that the tape is closer to the opening here than here. We don't really care what's happening out here as long as this part is not moving around. So we'll line that up right there like that. There is a straight line that cuts right through the template. Okay. Good night, Anna. Thank you for being here. So I'll show you. We're going to line it up right here, and the first one we're going to sew all the way around and just make this unique shape. This is the Spin Effects number 4 shape. Okay, nice and smooth, go all the way around, and it's going to bring us right back to that center position. Now, I'm going to tip this so that this edge right here is touching the stitching on this side. Notice that this now is a 1/2 inch. We'll even measure it with our spacing gauge so you can see. We're pushing the design over a 1/4 inch like that, and there's my 1/2 inch right there. As I sew around here back to the top, it's going to touch the existing design, right? So right there. And I can even use this and kind of get myself lined right back up so that I can stitch over to the other side. What do I want to do on this side? I'm going to use the same center alignment, and I'm going to push this over so he's touching on this side. Let's see if we can shift positions a little bit and give you a better view. There is a reference line right here, and I'm going to line that up right along the center position. This is how it was originally, like this, right there. And now we're going to make this side touch like that. So now when I sew along that other side, I can go ahead and put this other arc in on this side. Okay, and I'm back to the center. Now I'm going to do one more, and this one's a little different. I'm going to use the spacing gauge as the spacer. The foot is the anchor. I'm going to put the 1/2 inch on this side, just like we did before. It still will touch here at the top, and rather than try to go around, I'm going to just go ahead and stitch back on the template to clean up the lines. So you're going to get a double stitch on that outer line right there, and then the same thing on this other side. You're going to use the 1/2 inch on this side, just like that, to create that space. Okay? Okay, and then here I'll just side of this design, so we do need to sew at least 2 of these units in order to put the fill that goes right here. Okay, so let's just do that really quickly. We'll do that with a little less talking and a little faster sewing, but we'll just reiterate if there's any questions. Okay, put the ruler in first. That's always important. Before we set our needle, we need that ruler in there if we can. Okay, and then our needle will go right down in that center position right there, right on the crosshair line, and we'll line it up. All right, get these threads out of there, right? I'm going to put them over here because they'll be out of the way. So sew the first one. Okay, then this one, we're going to tip it so that it's touching on that side. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. It's going to touch on this inner section right there. Ah, I just dropped my spacing gauge, darn it. Right down the back of my sewing table. Hang on, let me grab it. Those slippery little suckers, they get away. So we do have our notions necklace that you can use, and you can tie off your spacing gauge so they won't run away. I do have one like that, but he's missing in action since my last trip, so I haven't found him yet. So close that design, and we'll come back. And the spacing we're using is 1/2 inch, so right here as we look at it, we're going to use the 1/2 inch spacer. And the reason that the 1/2 inch gives us that 1/4 inch is the foot is taking up a 1/4 inch right there. So the needle is pushed in a 1/4 inch, and that's what's giving us this beautiful spacing to make this little jewel facet. I saw somebody said that it reminds them of a hot air balloon. I definitely see that also. And if you have a larger one of these, the larger 4.5 inch Spinifex number 4, they have all different sizes, then I really could see using that to make the balloon design. I think that would look awesome. All right, so that was quicker, much quicker, a lot less talking, right? You know how it is. People ask me a lot of times, they're like, oh, well, ruler work, it's not very fast. I think it is. I think that's just like anything. The more skilled that you are, the faster you can do it because you're more comfortable. And I think that's true with piecing. I think that's true with free motion. I think that's true with anything, making a pattern or making your own pattern. If you know how to do it, you don't have to think about each step. It's just a little bit easier. So once again, this was the Spinifex number 4, and this is the 3.5 inch size. And this was the really cute design that we were able to make with it. And this is just one of a billion different designs that we could make. There's so many different options. Okay, so let's put the fill in right here. We want to use a little bit of a different shape. So this is our 6 inch spiral. And the way that this one works, you can use it on either side, which is why I have my stable tape grips on both sides. The foot would sit in here, and you would do an arc this way, and if you wanted the arc to go the other way, you would go like this. So I'm going to make a reference mark right here, about 1 3/4 inches from the existing start point right here. And I'm using Donnell's awesome marking ruler right here, so 1 3/4 is right there. And I'm just going to mark a little tick mark right there, and this will be the center reference line that we'll need. We just really need this spot, and I'll show you why we're going to use that. I want to make a little arc that goes right up to there, and different arcs are going to give me different widths. So for example, if I do this and I put the foot here, I'm going to have to really tip this, and I'm not going to get a lot of value. See how that is the line? It's only going to be a 1/4 inch away from that. Okay? How I can find out how deep the arc actually is going to be and what it's going to look like is if I use my stitching line discs, which are right here. Let me grab one. Oh, hang on. They're a little far away. Let me grab them. All right, when we're trying to play with the design and see what we're going to get, we can use these stitching line discs to approximate what are we going to get. They have different interior dimensions, and your pen or your marker goes inside. This one would be a little too big because it's wiggling around too much, right? So let's use something maybe just a little bit smaller than that. Maybe this one, maybe that one. So I'm just going to make this come out, but see how when this fits in the hole, he's not going to wiggle as much. He's going to give a more true to fit shape. So like, let's say we'll just make the mark up here. I guess it's a little bit longer right there. Because we're going to sew this one. I don't want to mess around with the wrong design. The foot is mimicking your ruler foot, and this is the 1/4 inch space. So the design here is going to be really flat. Well, I can tell you that's way flatter than I want. I want something that's going to arc out a little bit more and give me some presence right there. So having these little stitching line discs allows me to play with the design and make changes before I actually stitch it out on my fabric and say, I hate it, right? So let me show you how we can use one of our other tools. This is the 3-inch clamshell, and this has a much deeper but narrower base on the arc. And again, we can use these as foot hooks in order to create our design. I'm going to just scoot a couple of these tools out of the way. I know that this one's going to fit because I already drew it out. So I'm going to go ahead and use that in this existing space and show you the curve that we're going to get. I'm going to line up right on the center just like we did before. Put my foot down. In this case, this is an open template, so I don't need to worry about the key because this is the outer edge of a template. So I'm just going to tack that in place, and then I'm going to line up right in the foot hook, and I can pivot this until I get the 1/4 inch right there, and that's going to give me a little bit more of the arc. Or I can even make it touch the line, and that'll give me even more. So I'll just kind of extend this a little bit. We said 1 3/4, so we'll use the edge of the template right there and sew to the crosshair line. When I'm using this clamshell, I usually use 2 hands because it tends to be a little bigger template. If this is the center line, how do I get myself back to this point? I can do it exactly the same. I can just put it in the hook, and I'm just going to pivot it until I get this 1/4 inch right here that I want and get back to the center. So within this set, you have the 2-inch circle, which gives you a 2-inch arc. This is the 3-inch clamshell, which gives you a 3-inch arc. We have the 4-inch arc that we already played with, and that is this one right here. And then that 6-inch spiral that I just showed you, this is the arc for a 6-inch circle. If I put a 6-inch circle on top of this, this arc would be the same. So you get several different choices in this set, including the 12-inch arc, which is this ruler right here, which is a lot flatter and wider. Okay? So I just saw somebody comment. I see Kim's comment. She's like, your design will just be a little bit more you. Please know that I want you to take the technique that I'm showing you and make it however you want it. I don't feel like you need to copy me in any way. Maybe this isn't your style. Maybe this doesn't float your boat, right? Maybe you want something more angular, more curvy, more whatever. But the techniques about alignment, like the crosshair, the random rule, how you measure with your spacing gauge, how you can flange out the design to create repeats and widen it out, all of those techniques can be used in any way. Judy, this is a free class, so there is no printout for this. I literally do not have time to make printouts for classes that I'm not paid for, so I'm sorry about that. Donnell maybe has more time than I do, or maybe she's just better at that than I am. I don't know, but I don't have time for that. So I hope that you'll appreciate that you can watch this. I leave it up and it's free content, so you'll be able to refer back to it as many times as you want to, but I definitely don't have any printout for you. Okay, so let me show you the arc that we've made, which I think looks awesome. Doesn't that look so pretty? It's not too skinny, it's not too tall, and we're going to put something else in here, right? So we've used a lot of different tools from our set, and I'm just going to put these up. We've used this one. We showed you an idea for this one, but because this arc is so much bigger, it's not as useful in a really tiny space. You're not going to get as good a value. You need a little bit bigger space for this to show out nicely. Okay, we used our 4-inch arc. We are not using our 2-inch circle in this particular design. And we have not used this circles on quilts, but there are a lot of great designs out there on the internet that do use this that absolutely look amazing, including some that I have called Beyond the Basics. I have a 2-part series on YouTube that shows some great ideas for how to use this tool. So these are the main pieces, the 4-inch arc, that come with the set, plus you get the 12-inch arc, right, and the bloom template, which is the one that we used at the very beginning. So that's 8 templates that are in that Rulerwork kit. Now I'm going to grab something crazy, and we're going to do something with a tool that's not in the set. And the reason for that is I always want to show how we can combine things. Use what you have. If you don't have what I have, you can probably find something else that you can combine and make something amazing. Okay, so I'm going to use, I think the 4-inch feather was the one I played with. You can use any size, and I'm just going to put this on, and what I want is right here, if I open this like this, notice that this is bigger than a 1/4 inch, right? I don't want my feather to stitch into my existing design, so I'm just going to tip it until it won't. And I'll know that it won't because I can use my 1/4 inch spacing gauge right there, checking that space, and as long as it's narrower than a 1/4 inch, he's going to sew outside. And I'm going to use a ruler sticker right here. And the reason that I want to put a ruler sticker is then when I do the other side, I'll have a good idea of what space number that I need to line it up with. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll just put this arrow right on there on the 4th line right there. Okay, so he's touching this line. That is what? What did I just do right now? Does anybody know? We just made something called a what? A random rule. This is the random rule theory. I just randomly decided that I'm going to make this line up on that 4th line. Could I make it line up on another line? Sure, I could go like this, but I'm not. I'm going to use that. That's just a choice. You decide. Okay, you're in charge. And you can use those stitching line discs and you can figure that out and see if you like it or not. So real quick, I just want to verify. I don't want to sew into my existing design, so I'm just going to make a little adjustment and I'm going to sew my feather. My foot is touching the template and I'm going to come around in this design until I touch. Right there. And then I'm going to go backwards and I want to stop at this center position. So let me show you what I mean. When you make a feather, this is the fattest part. And if we sew back to the top right here and I move to do the next feather, I'm going to be lined up like that and I'm going to sew back in. This is the tallest part. So if I stop right there and then I readjust my position, this is the fattest feather I can make, right? I could make a skinnier one if I stop somewhere else, then it only goes this far. But this is the fattest part. I want a fat, juicy feather, so I'm going to have one. You can align it differently if you want to, but there's one thing you're going to need when you're putting the next one on. So this is where we were. We're going to move up. I'm not using this line necessarily. I have to look and see how am I going to connect. I need to come back at a 1/4 inch right there. The space that is right here, I have to have a 1/4 inch. If I don't, what happens? Right? I have actually more than a 1/4 inch. If it's like this, I will never ever touch my spine, which is this part right here. I have to go enough that I have that 1/4 inch right there. Otherwise, I cannot close the feather the way I want to. So I'm going to touch, and I'll come back up to that top spot again, and then see how this one is going to cut into this existing space. If I tip it a little bit more and just make sure that I'm at that 1/4 inch or a little bit less than that, now that feather should fit in there pretty close, and now we'll just close it. Okay, now I'm going to stop from there. What do you think so far? Do you like that? I do. I think it looks so awesome. Okay, but now where are we? What are we doing? How do we get to the other side? I don't know. This arc is a template that we just sewed, and we have that tool. So I'm just going to grab it back out. I'm going to line it right back up. And now, again, going back to Marsha's question, does it matter now? It doesn't matter, because now the arc is positioned just at a 1/4 inch, and as long as we're at a 1/4 inch, we'll be able to get right back to our start point. I usually stitch just a few stitches first and check the position, make sure that I'm on the line, and now look where I'm at, right? I'm back to the center, and I'm capable of aligning to do the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do that other side, and I better check the time because I'm just having so much fun here that I don't even know what time it is. All right, hang on just a second. Oh, we got plenty of time. It's only 4:03. Can you believe we did all of this in basically 1 hour? Right? So little by little, step by step, one little piece at a time, and you're going to make an amazing, amazing design. Okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll put the other side in just so you can see how you line that up. We want to try to mirror this as best we can. I will tell you, I know that I find it a little difficult to make it exactly perfect, and I'm okay with that. I don't need it to be exactly perfect. I need it to be approximately perfect. So we said 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to put my same arrow on this spot right here because I'm going to use that to make the first feather approximately the same. Okay, so we need one more arrow. So you can really see that a lot of the tools that we have in our different sets allow us to do so many things and make our designs as precise as we want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. Okay, so I just want to see where the line is, right? So it should be basically the same as this one. This line is right to the tip, and we are 1 in from that. So this one is right at the tip, and we're 1 in from that on that position. Okay, so let's line it up. And if I wanted to be like ridiculously precise, I could actually make a line right there too. What that line would tell me is that I don't want to exceed the limitation of the top right here. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. This is kind of picky, but if I want this one to be the same height, now I know what that height is. And I would need my template to be a 1/4 inch away from this line. So like the template could be above it a 1/4 inch in order for the feather right there to touch this line. So we'll show you what that looks like, what I mean by that. Just put this on. We know that we want the 1/4 inch and we want to align this right so it touches. So this space right here, we would have to pivot this a little bit to get that 1/4 inch right there. Okay, do you see that? So now then this feather would touch that space just like that one. It would line up right at the same position, and right there I have less than a 1/4 inch, so it is not going to cut in. Again, these are random rules that we just made up, right? But because we're applying them consistently, we're going to get a beautiful, perfect design. We're going to come back to that top of the feather spot, the whitest part that we just mentioned, and then you're just going to rotate that around, and we're looking for the 1/4 inch on this side. We can't have it like that or it won't close the feather, so we need to open this up so that it can have that 1/4 inch space right there. Okay, so right there is where it's going to touch. So let's put this one in. Touch the spine, and again, come back up to this top position, and now we're going to lay this over again. Now, I'm going to turn it so you can see this part a little bit more. Right now, this is more than 1/4. If I want to narrow it out, I can do two things. I can pull this down a little bit, and I can pivot it just enough so that it's 1/4 inch right there, right? Because we just want enough that it will just kiss that feather and fit into that space. Okay, and then here we'll just do a little tacking stitch right there and cut that off. Now, if I want these to be perfectly aligned, I could make a line so that these have the same height right here, because I see that they are a little different. I don't care, right? But you can have that. You control how precise that you make the design, and you can add more reference lines to give you what you need. That's your choice. All right, so we sewed back to that when we sewed over here. So this part is definitely stitched over twice from this arc and from this arc. So we can cut all those threads. So this is basically the top position right here, and then there's basically going to be a space right there. So I'm going to create an artificial boundary so that I can put my feather in over here, because I know it's going to be about this size. I'm just going to make a little line right across the top, and I'm actually going to fudge it with just a little bit of space so that I can make sure that in case I am wonky on this side that I've got a little bit of room. So I'm just going to make a line. Very good line. It's kind of stuck. Right here, now I'm going to put a little fill in this corner. And I would measure from the center position here to find out how large this is so I could make the other corners the same, right? Because I want all of these corners to match. I would repeat this same size triangle on the next corner, the next corner, the next corner, okay? I want to extend this line to the diagonal because I'm going to use that center line. So let's mark that all the way in. This is where I said we might need to make a little longer line. Again, we're going to go back to our Rulerwork Kit, and I'm going to get out that clamshell, which I love so much. Awesome, right? The inside, Paula asked, what's the size of the block? Paula Baldner, it is a 14.5 inch cut piece, and the interior is a 13-inch space. And what I'm planning is I'm going to make some blocks the same size, and then I'm just going to put them together. I'm going to use the same thread, black fabric, and then this is kind of like whatever my sashing is. So there's a little bit of room also to hold the ruler, put the ruler on. Okay, so I don't want this big corner left open. This is pretty convenient. Once your seam is out here, there's just a little easement right here between the edge of the block, right? So what would you use this design? Jamie, good question. So it's a little bit small, I think, for a 14-inch block, but the way to make it fit a 14-inch block, if this interior is 13, I could actually just sew around and have a little easement in my 14, basically making the block inside of the 14. The feather size, okay, I'm going to answer the feather question, but I'm going to tell you something about that. This is a 4-inch feather. Could I use a bigger feather? Yes, I could. I could have made this taller, like out to there, and I could use a taller feather. You can use any size feather. I can make big or small. It's my choice, right? And I recommend that you play with it on paper so that you can figure that out, right? You want to try this size. Do you like it? Does it look proportional? Does it look too itty-bitty for the space that I have? Do I need a bigger one? That's what the stitching line discs can do for you so that you can make those adjustments. Okay, so let me go ahead and put that up. And what I want to do here is I can, again, make a little reference. The reference I want to use is this template. So notice that there are some lines right here. I've got this little orange marker. When I put this on, I'm going to try to line up the first one right there, right above my little stable tape. So it's 1, 2, 3 lines down from this center line, which is where the foot will be. The needle will be aligned right along there, right? So 1, 2 from this little cutout right there. That's the random rule that I'm going to use when I'm sewing this out. Right there. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to just sew into the dip and back out. Now, this is the seam allowance, so rather than try to worry about, if I know exactly where the block will be, I'll kind of start right at the edge. And I can also even just do a little tack right in here to pick up that thread so that the bobbin is anchored right there. Notice that when I'm holding this, part of the ruler is off. So if that's a problem, you can stick some fabric back there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to really try to hold at the top here and move everybody together. So as I get close to my finger, notice how I'm going to change my hand position. I put the pressure here, okay, all the way in so that the foot is seated right in there. And then again, I'm just going to come out to the boundary on this side. Okay, and this is the block mark, right? This is the seam allowance. So I just want to sew past my seam allowance so that I can reposition out in this area where it doesn't matter. This part will all be covered, this part. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do now is if I try to just move up and stick this right on there, this is already 3. This is not going to make something bigger. If I want to stack concentric circles, let me show you what I mean. This is 3 inches, right? And if I try to put my 3 inches on and I try to make it bigger, like by moving it up, it can't, right? Because the base size is the same, right? Even if I move it up, it's not going to give me what I want. It's not going to allow me to come in and make that same clamshell just like I did before. In order to echo this in a way where we create the same amount of space, what I would need to do is have a bigger circle. So this is the 4-inch arc, and I'm just going to show you these are the same, right? It's the same. So I can use this arc in order to echo this at a 1/2 inch. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. If this is a 3-inch circle and I put a 4-inch circle over it, what difference is the spacing right here, right? It's going to be 1/2 inch on this side of the circle, and it would be 1/2 inch on the other side of the circle, right? So this maximum spacing that we can get with a 4-inch arc to echo this perfectly is a 1/2 inch visually right here as we echo this right here. So I can use my clamshell and I could line it up just using visual spacing, or I know that if I have one of these lines and the foot, that is my 1/2 inch right there. So let's go ahead and we'll use that same tool that's in there. We do have to move up a little bit. So let's position this first. Okay, so we need to come up just a little bit more. Right there. See if I can get it lined right up. Okay, so we're close. It's not perfect. But now I'm going to sew in, and I need to stop right on the crosshair line because that's the spacing that we're trying to get. I think it'll look better if we do this one because we'll be able to see it a little bit better how you line it up. What we're trying to get is the same amount of space on each side. right? This should be 1/4 of an inch, so it's going to be just like that, and the foot is adding the additional space. So I'm just going to scoot down, and I'm doing it visually. So let me show you what I mean by visually. Let's get you in a little bit closer so you can see. Okay. This right here is 1/4 inch. Right at the center, right there, is 1/4 inch. And right where the foot is, that is 1/4 inch. So the dimension here is the same all the way across, and we'll stop right there when we get there. Let me see if we can adjust the camera just a little bit more. I still am zoomed in, but this will really let you see what I'm talking about. There's no marking that I'm using. I'm using my eyeball, and I can use my spacing gauge. I'm keeping this distance the same. It looks a little distorted right here because of the camera angle, but this is 1/4 inch. If I put the spacing gauge on there, I can tell that it is the correct distance to that green line right there. Okay? So what happened with the 4-inch arc, the reason that maybe I wouldn't want to use that in this case, let's see, I think my ruler is preventing me from moving there. Let's see if we'll, there we go. We had a little bit of stable tape action holding us down. Okay, so I'm right to my crosshair line right there. And now I should be able to line this up the same and get that same relationship. It's 1/4 inch right there. It's 1/4 inch right here. So we're echoing perfectly at that 1/4 inch. That is going to give us that accurate 1/2 inch spacing. This is the mini multi-arc. And I will tell you that I absolutely love this tool. I pretty much have it out all the time. That, my straight ruler, and my 12-inch arc. Because this gives me so many different arcs and so many easy ways to hook my foot and align for it. And it's not very expensive. This is a $20 piece, and to me it's like 4 different tools in one. You've got, you know, the 4 different arc sizes, plus it's the size of my hand. I don't like to use rulers that are so much bigger, like, you know, 12, 14 inches or whatever. I can't control that. I can control this very easily. So this is one of my favorites. And it's the same relationship as this, but the markings are a little different. Sometimes having a lot of lines can be a little bit confusing and not as easy when you're just trying to make your own rules, right? So that's why I like this one. Okay, so let's see what we got. So I'm just going to tack this off right here, just because I can. Remember, these are outside of the boundary, so nobody will ever see those, so I can cut that. And let's cut some threads. So what we did here is we're just creating a little detail that'll kind of fill in this corner instead of having this empty. And you could put something in here if you wanted to, a 2-inch circle. You could use the same relationship as we did before and put another line in there the same distance away. It would be like this. It would be on the inside. So we'd have to go like that in order to have the relationship be the same. Right? If you wanted to just put another space right in there, so you can kind of create layers of this, and the different circles allow you to do that, to stack these up just like that. So let me kind of pull out a little bit, and then I'll just see real quickly if we have any questions. So let me just scoot some of these tools out of here so I can see if we have any questions. So somebody was just asking, what template did I use for the echo? You can use the 4-inch arc, which is in the Rulerwork Kit, but the one that I was using and the one that I love, and I use it for many different purposes, is the mini multi-arc. So here, we'll just flip this over right there so you can see that. This is the mini multi-arc. It's about $20 for the MSRP, and you get the 4 different sizes. You get the 1 inch the 1 inch clamshell, the 2 inch and 3, and then 4. So this is essentially 5 inches in width, and you get the 4 different shapes on there. So that's the mini multi-arc right there. Sue, I did see your comment. I was going to go ahead and leave that up for a minute just so people can see that. So the tools that we used were, most everything is in that Rulerwork kit, and then we just added the feather detail because I'm a feather junkie and I just like that. We used a lot of the different tools in different ways. So just to recap some of the things, really recommend the 8-point crosshair for sure. It comes with the Rulerwork kit. If you don't have it, I love it and you should get it. It really does make everything so much cleaner and easier. This is the bloom template. This is the piece that's added into the new Rulerwork 2 kit. I put the part number into our instructions on the front for you. If you want to see that, it's like Rulerwork Kit -2, and then you would put -low shank or high shank or long arm. So LS, HS, or LA, depending on what you need. Then we used the 4-inch arc here, and this was point to point with the spacing gauge, and we made a random rule about how far away from the design that we were. And then on this side, we flipped the arc, and we again went point to point. And then here we used the arc, and we used the lines on the arc to create that echo. So we did all of the information on the template itself to echo it using the lines. So that was the information here. And the other tip that was here was positioning the ruler first and then positioning the foot, making sure that the ruler is telling you where you need to go. Then here, this was the 3-inch clamshell, and we randomly made a position mark, and that's how we created this little pearl right here at the center to start with that, the little melon. And then that was the center of our feather, and we created a line to make sure that this was nice and straight along the top. And then we just filled in as best we could, and this was the 4-inch feather on this side. This is the 4-inch, the spin effects number 4 at 3.5, and that's in the set. And what we did here is we used the spin effects position, and you rotated from this position to flare this out and create little echoes, and they did touch at the top and kind of created this little facet. And then what we did here on the bottom at the end is we just wanted to put a little bit more detail so we don't have a big gap here on the corner of the block with no quilting. And this was the 3-inch clamshell right there, right in the center. And then we used the 4-inch mini multi-arc to create the perfect 1/2-inch channel echo. Okay, so I just saw some questions about getting the bloom template. So part of this whole discussion today was, what is a reseller exclusive? The reseller exclusive is something you can only get through your So Steady authorized reseller. That means that it's not something So Steady is directly selling online. It's a special bonus that they're offering to their loyal resellers so they can connect with you, the clients, right? So you're going to need to look for somebody that has these. If you have a reseller and they don't have this, ask them to bring it in. That's totally possible. They can do that. And if they won't, I guarantee you there's another reseller who will. So they're definitely out there. You know, we want to keep that connection because our local quilt shops are the connection that keep our quilters going. I mean, not many people want to drive 4 to 8 hours to go to that shop in that other community or that other state. And a lot of times we want to be able to see it and touch it and feel it and ask questions about it. So that's the benefit of having these reseller exclusives. Our suspension system is part of that. The Fun and Fancy class is a reseller exclusive. The Flower Power set is a reseller exclusive. The Bloom template, the Rulerwork kit with the Bloom template is also part of that. So you can go ahead and look at some of those items in line, but if you see this on it, you're not going to be able to order it. So anyway, just wanted to clarify what those are and why do we have those. It's really to connect with our local resellers and help you have the knowledge and the support that you need in your local community. Okay, so right now it's 4:26. I talked for a long time. I'm going to say one last thing. Can you guys hang on for 1 second? I'm going to trunk show something. I want to just comment on it for a second. So don't leave. Let me grab it. All right, thank you guys so much for your patience. I should have had that closer, but it just was not close enough for me to grab it. So yes, I am a reseller. I don't have everything, but I have a lot of stuff. Barbie, I am using my iPhone for this lesson. Because we're so close, and the iPhone, I have it on a special arm that lets you see as if you were the sewer. I really think that's an effective learning mechanism for these kind of lessons, because we need to present the view that you would have if you were sewing, because that's how you're going to find it, you know, if you're going to see what's the real deal. This sample is my kit and caboodle class, and I've actually renamed the ruler work portion of it. It's called Pastiche. So right now, this is the center template. This is the Circles on Quilts number 36, right, that we did not sew. And then we outlined it, and then we've got some arcs in here. And this is that clamshell right there. We made some egg and dart with the clamshell. This is that super cute little Spin Effects number 4 that we used to make the jewel. This is that same design. And then let's show you, we've got some straight line designs in there. This is one of my favorites. Absolutely love this circle design with that 2-inch circle. This is an example of how that 6-inch spiral stitches out like this. And then again, this is a combination of some straight lines and the Circles on Quilts number 36 used as the topper, kind of, I call it the ice cream cone box, right? It looks like a little ice cream cone. And then there's your 4-inch arcs right there. So many different potential to use this ruler work kit. I really feel like this is an amazing starter set. The very first quilt that I ever made with rulers was Leonie West's Quilt As You Go class, and that class is included with this Reseller Exclusive set. So it's a $150 class, and the class is available with the purchase of that ruler work set. So really a great tool to get you started if you're a new user, which is a lot of the people that we are speaking to today. This class, Pastiche, is going to be live at several national quilt shows this year. The most current one is the Salt Lake City Quilt Festival show. If you have some information, you can go to the Quilts International, quilts.com is the company, Quilt Inc., that is posting that class in Salt Lake City. So you can go online and you can see this product and you can see if you're interested in this class. One of the benefits of this class is that I am providing the templates for the class as a loaner. So when you come in, if you want to try to buy, then you can see how those work. Do you like it? Can you do it? Are you comfortable with it? And then you can decide if that's for you, rather than having to bring those yourself to class and then saying, oh, I don't think I can do this or not. So that's the most recent one coming up, and will also be at Houston. This will be at Houston this year. It was accepted at the Houston International Quilt Festival, and it was also accepted at Road to California Quilt Festival in January. So a lot of different options coming up with some of our national shows. We're really finally making the big time and able to show the value of this technique. So if any of those are local to you, then you have the opportunity, and we will try to get them out to some more shows. AQS is interested in having us come in, and I know that Donnell has done some work for them already. So hopefully we'll be able to be at a location that's a little closer to you. And to my dear international friends, believe me, I want to come visit you. We're just not there yet. So COVID has kind of put a little crimp in our plans, and we'll keep on working on that and see if we can make that possible in the future, so that we can come and see you. Have an absolutely amazing weekend, and hope you have time for fun and quilting and design awesomeness and have some great time with people that you love. So those quilt show signups are ongoing, so please go ahead and take advantage of that if you can. If classes don't go, then they don't feel that they want us. So we really need to fill those classes so we can get that information into people's hands. Have a great day, you guys. Happy quilting. Oh, Dale, I'm going to answer your question before I sign off. All of these fills that you see in here, it's free motion, and they're all available free of charge on my YouTube channel. This is the Kit and Caboodle Free Motion Project. So all of these fills are already out there, but if you want the ruler work portion, that is part of the live class, right? So what I'm offering then is if somebody takes the live class, then they can fill in their designs for free afterwards with the virtual content that is available. Okay? All right. Have an awesome day. See you later. I'll post the quilt after it's all finished. After I finish the other sides, I'll post it once I'm done. I was asked to go to PIQF this year as a demonstrator for Janome long arms. So I will be there, but I will not be working for my fabulous Westerly products. I will be working for Janome. So I would love to see you. Come visit me. I will definitely be there, and I'll post that on my calendar. Okay? Can you get a handout? Sandy, I'm not sure what your question is. Can I make a handout for this or not? I'm not really sure. Send me a message to clarify what you're asking because I don't know the answer right now. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. I'll check all your questions and I will respond. You guys know I do. I check all the answers and I literally respond myself. So I will check and make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. Have a great weekend and happy 4th. Take care, you guys.